It's Bigfoot Collectors Club with Bryce, Michael, and Ivy. I know a story of high strangeness or two. Let's do this.
Hello, everybody, and welcome to Bigfoot Collectors Club, the show where we talk to amazing guests about their personal paranormal history and share stories of high strangeness. I'm your host, Michael McMillan. With me always is your other host,
Bryce Johnson.
and our super producer,
Riley Bray.
Boys, oh boys. May the 4th be with you, boys. It's Star Wars week, which means that I made you both celebrate my favorite fictional franchise. And I'm very excited because we have a guest with us who is officially canonized in the Star Wars universe.
Oh,
so
damn.
I'm not wasting any time today with chit chat up at the top of the show.
Okay.
She's a major talent who has starred in a million film, TV, and video game projects, from True Blood, where I met her, The Morning Show, The Way Back, and Tales of the Jedi, and Star Wars Battlefront II, which longtime listeners will recall was probably the game that got me through the pandemic. Please give a warm Club Scout salute to Janina Gavankar. Janina.
Hello.
Hi.
I was not in the Boy Scouts, so is that two? Are there two fingers involved?
Yeah, that's
The Boy Scout?
There's
That's like, it's a good
Yeah,
Han
I could
Solo
that.
salute, so that's all that matters. You're doing
yeah,
like
yeah,
Good.
fair.
good smuggler salute.
Okay, okay.
Janina, how are you?
I'm fantastic, my friend. I'm really good. I'm happy to see you.
So good to catch up with you. Our listeners know I recently did the True Blood podcast that you produced.
Yes.
With Blood, but you're not one of the hosts, so I didn't get to talk to you.
No. When I do things like that, when I produce things or like create them, I genuinely am like not trying to make something for me to do. I'm trying to like make the best thing, and in that case, I wouldn't have been the best host. So Kristen and Deb, both of which have done this show.
Yes.
They're the right people to be hosting
Yes.
Truest Blood,
Yes.
which you can listen to anywhere you can get your podcast.
Yeah.
So,
Pull it up.
yeah.
Pull it up right here on this app.
Pull it up
you're
right now.
listening to this.
Hit subscribe.
Do it. Janina, welcome to Bigfoot Collectors Club.
Thank you for having me.
We talk a lot about aliens on here, even though the title of the show has Bigfoot in it. I thought we would get into this week's conversation because it is May the 4th, and I want to know, which Star Wars alien species is your favorite? And I will put this question out to all three of you.
I mean, Twi'leks, obviously.
Okay, great answer. Nothing wrong with the Twi'lek. They're hot.
Yeah, I mean, they are. I mean, I've now been one. Like the most heartwarming thing that's happened to me is that I got to play Ahsoka's mother.
Amazing.
In these beautiful like tone poems that Dave Filoni made, and he called me and asked me if I would play her mother. And even I'm such a nerdy actor that I really conjure the things and then they become very real to me. So now that I get to watch Rosario go be amazing in this show,
Yes.
I really see her and I'm like, my baby's doing so well. It's like imprinted in my heart. And she like kind of looks like me as her mother,
great.
So it's like
casting.
they have a lot of familial, she got it looks from a mama when you watch the piece. So I have like a bunch of warm feelings.
It's so cool that not only do you get to play an Imperial pilot turned good guy, but then you also get to be Ahsoka's mom.
Yeah, it's wild.
And now with all the animated characters crossing over into live action, I mean, there's possible we can see
never
you
know.
playing two different roles in two different parts of the timeline here. Because
God,
Aiden is alive and well during the Mandalorian period that's happening on the show right now.
You're right. Yeah, anything could happen. The thing that's really helpful is that if I did go and play Ahsoka's mother, like it would thankfully be unrecognizable. So like ostensibly I could play both because you just won't and not throw anybody because you just won't recognize me, which is helpful.
I'll have orange and white makeup on and the head tentacles. And you'll be great.
Correct.
Bryce, Riley, Star Wars aliens. What are your favorites?
I mean, what is Yoda exactly? This is a really
don't know
question to ask.
Yoda and Grogu don't have their species named yet.
No.
That's the one I choose then. The unknown.
Okay.
Oh, that's a good one.
The unknown.
Nice. I could see that for you, Riley. You're very sort of stoic and wise. I guess to stay on brand for myself, I guess I'm supposed to say Wookiee because
you don't have to.
The Bigfoot, right?
You don't have to. There are so many different species.
No, I'd be down for a Wookiee. I'm cool with that.
Yeah,
down for a Wookiee.
Or
He's
something
down for a
really,
Wookiee.
really basic choices.
Give me something very evil. I don't know. Maybe a Sith would be cool. I'm down for that too.
Well, you might.
The Siths isn't necessarily a species.
Yeah, exactly.
No.
Thank you.
That's not
Janina.
how that works.
Finally, I got somebody on my side on this podcast. You could be like, if you're from Dathomir, like Darth Maul, you'll look like you got.
I think that's what he meant. I think that's what he meant.
Yeah,
let's give it.
Palpatine's just from Naboo. He's just a Nabooian.
It's funny when we were boys with my older brother Brendan, we used to play lightsabers with old cardboard from wrapping paper. That was our lightsaber.
That's the way to do it.
That's the OG way. Now today kids have those $300 ones from Disneyland and they beat the hell out of those. Not when I was a boy. And anyway, I always played Luke Skywalker and my brother was always Darth Vader, always. And he would just pummel me. And still to this day, we call him Uncle Evil. Which is very, very in a very loving term. But yeah, and I always used to make wishes at the wishing wells to wish for a real lightsaber so I could strike my brother down. Yeah.
But then he'll just become more powerful than ever.
Right.
I have a nephew who's turning 10 this year, and I of course taught him all about our Lord Vader. And because I was very much it's funny when I think about Aiden, I have a very specific place that I go to in my head, and even though she, spoiler, switches sides, she still I think she attacks the rebel side with military precision, and she's just constantly annoyed by all these filthy rebels because there's a better way to do things, even though she's
organized.
they're on the right side, but you could be a little bit better at this,
Yeah.
And not that she regrets her decision, but she's definitely annoyed by how disorganized things are. And so I taught him, of course, who Vader was, and he goes to Catholic school now, I guess. And they were touring it, my sister and my brother-in-law, and they had these Star Wars posters that teach you how to do things like don't be gross, right? Like wash your hands. So it's Luke Skywalker washing his hands or whatever. And there was something with Vader's face on it, a helmet on it, I should say. And he's little at this point, and he goes, "Oh, our Lord Vader," in a Catholic school. And I was like, my work here is done.
Yeah, nice. Good.
Yeah, he's going to be pretty confused. You must have been pretty confused. Okay, wait a minute. where does Jesus fall into? What planet is Jesus from?
Correct.
He does seem to have force powers, so maybe he's a Jedi.
Yeah.
Janina, we ask all of our guests,
yes,
what, if anything, is your personal paranormal history? Do you have any thoughts on the subject? Have you ever had anything happen that you can't explain? Have you ever seen anything weird?
I think that I started my life as a Mulder, and now I'm very much a Scully.
Whoa, it's usually the other way around.
So, but then I have a lot of hypocrisy in there because there's a bunch of shit that I can't explain, but I'm also a woman of science in a lot of ways now. And I know Deb said this on your podcast, if somebody saw a light bulb go on many years ago, they'd be like, "It's witchery," and that would be it. But, people thought that people having seizures were in touch with the devil, and it was just
possession of some kind. Yeah.
Yeah, just help them out. check their blood sugar. So I kind of feel like there's probably an answer for everything, even though I have some weird shit for sure.
Well, just because there is an answer doesn't still make it amazing and weird. I mean, I think like a lot of this stuff, we agree that eventually there will be an explanation for what these things are.
Yeah, especially, but the thing is, like, the weird thing is, you know, when I was growing up, when I was a little kid, I used to lay in bed every night, and you know how, you know, kids like pray, please God, look after my dog. Like, I don't know why.
Are you British?
That's like, I don't know. I wasn't. I was never British. I've never been British.
Prayer just works better that way in a British voice.
Yeah.
Everybody
Please
knows
God,
that.
also may I have some porridge? Like, no. But I used to lay in bed, and I swear, I used to say, okay, aliens, when you come to Earth, I promise I won't get scared. I will be an incredible tour guide. This is my address. I'm not going to dox the people that bought my childhood home, but no. Joliet, Illinois, 60431, USA, Earth.
Wow.
And I used to that was my weird little prayer ritual, probably, that I did before I used to go to bed. And I would mean it. I won't get scared. I promise I'll be a really good tour guide. I won't get scared. And I really wanted them. I really, really wanted them to come so bad. And they never did. So now I don't believe anything. I'm disappointed, and I've been betrayed.
This is fascinating to me, though, Janina, because that's pretty much opposite than the way I think all three of us were. I was terrified of aliens coming. What did you think they looked like in your mind? What were they?
I mean, even back then, I was like, they're probably not going to look human. They probably don't have legs. Maybe they fly. Maybe they're tiny. I used to run all of the scenarios, the never-ending scenarios, because I was like, you can't be scared when you see them. You promised them. So you have to think of all of the scariest things they could possibly be so you can be super chill.
I love that.
For them as their tour guide. And like, here's the ultimate hypocrisy, because now I'm just like, oh, whatever. I could probably think up a scientific explanation for this. I only have one graphic tee. It's an X-Files I Want to Believe t-shirt.
Okay.
And I write horror movies. You know, like, that's what I do now. My writing partner and I write really scary, spooky shit. So how did I turn into this person? But I'm also like, nah, it's probably not real, but...
Well,
what's that about? Unpack that. Let's do a therapy session, boys. Let's do this. Unpack that with me.
Yeah.
What do you think? I mean, I would say let's start with, where did the love for X-Files come from?
I didn't even know. Okay, this is the embarrassing thing. So I have a lot of pop culture black holes because blind spots.
Black holes works too, especially in this
blind spots, because I had a really strict upbringing, and I was like, I wasn't allowed to watch television, and I didn't even listen to the radio until I got to college. And so there's like, I missed a lot of stuff. I didn't know what I was missing. So I found the X-Files like after college.
Wow.
I think I'd moved to Los Angeles and was like, oh, this is fun. But I'd also found like Battlestar Galactica around that time and was like, this is my shit, you know?
Yeah. You were a sci-fi fantasy nerd and you didn't even know it.
I didn't know it. I was a gamer and I didn't know it.
Wow.
I was just a music nerd. I didn't realize the other areas of geekiness that were like intrinsically woven into me until I found people like me when I moved to LA.
What I love also too, the parents are like, nope, no TV, no films, no games for you, and like now that's like all you do.
That's my whole life.
Yeah,
my whole life.
That's revenge. So in your horror movies that you write, is there a supernatural element? Is there a supernatural element that you're drawn to? Ghosts or demonic possession? Or...
No, they're all so different, you guys. They're all very strange and very different. But they're all analogous to something in our universal experiences that we don't want to discuss. So they're like, they're arty horror pieces. Like there's one that's sci-fi, but we call it lo-fi sci-fi because it's like you just say the rules and then you don't have to spend any money on effects.
Right.
Right.
So the mind is the place of horror.
Yeah. And it's a doomed romance. So it's actually like a slow train wreck of two people in love, but we're using this like sci-fi analogy, and then, you just can't look away.
Oh, that's falling in love is the most terrifying thing of all.
That's right.
I mean, love is alien, man.
I mean, Alan Ball used to say that True Blood was all about the terror of intimacy.
Yep.
That makes sense.
Yeah, so that's kind of where I live now. But, like, as for things that used to happen that were strange, I had some, like, electrical things happen that I couldn't really explain. Like,
Go on.
Yes. There were some mornings when I would, like, reach for the hair dryer and it would go on by itself.
Whoa.
Then it would sort of, like, go far away from me because, like, pushing back and it'd be like, oh, and I'd catch it. When it's not on.
There's like telekinesis involved. Thing is moving.
No, it's like the thing goes on and the air pushes it away from wherever it was. Right. Yeah.
Michael thought you were practicing the force. Yeah.
Okay, fair enough.
Yes, air force pushes it away.
You're like,
right?
well,
Yeah.
I move objects with my mind, but I don't believe in any of this stuff.
There was some TV show that I watched that I used to. Oh God. Okay, I would sneak this one TV show sometimes, and it was
Okay, now the truth's coming out.
she could stop time by touching her fingers together.
Oh yeah, was that Small Wonder? Which one was that?
Small Wonder was the robot show, right?
Yeah, the little robot.
Yeah, that was the robot
yeah.
show.
There was like a mom, stepmom, or babysitter from space that could touch her fingertips together. I know people listening will know what this is.
Mm-hmm.
Is it Out of This World from 1987?
Out of This World? That's what it was.
Sure. So I definitely tried to do that with all my might. Definitely tried to move some pencils with my mind. None of that shit happened.
We
Done
all
that,
tried
yeah.
to move a pencil as a child, right?
Yeah.
I
know
still
that.
every now and then, once in a blue moon, I still see
It still doesn't work.
if those
No.
powers have come to surface. But nope.
But that hairdryer electricity stuff was very real. And I've always found that interesting in that sort of poltergeist. Also, like when you're at your most on fire is when you're going through puberty, especially girls, which is also a completely terrifying time in so many ways.
Yeah.
So, and I'm sure I was probably terrifying during that time.
So you think you might have kicked off some poltergeist activity in your house?
Sure, maybe, I don't know, but also, when you look into humans as conductors, and like if you want to get hippy dippy about grounding mats, but then you actually look into like why you might need them.
Oh, wait, let's talk about grounding mats. I don't know what you're talking about, and I want to hear about this.
Same.
Okay, so humans are conductors of electricity, right? And the idea of the grounding mat is like this is just very recent in my life. I don't have any as of now. The listeners, please come at me. Tell me what you know and what I should be doing about getting some grounding mats in my life.
Listeners do come at you.
Yeah.
Okay, great.
And you connect them. They have like a wire, and you connect them, or a rod or something. You connect them to the grounding wire in your house.
Oh, damn.
So houses after the 60s or something had to have grounding wires. So, when you're like, if you're doing electrical work in your house, you either turn off the thing or whatever, you have to put this wire to the grounding wire and blah, blah, blah. It's literally grounding your house so the electrical currents are grounded.
Okay.
But we ourselves are constantly touching things that are electronic and have an electrical current going through it, and we can carry them. If I'm saying this so wrong, please somebody tell me. These three motherfuckers are looking at me, and they are giving me blank stares.
No.
They're interested. I'm not talking to you guys. I'm talking to your listeners. Listeners, if I'm wrong about this, these guys do not have my back. And I might be spreading misinformation, and I'm going to need you to help me out because I'm getting no help from these three dudes.
We're listening, and we're modern men who sit and listen and don't correct.
Yeah, but don't listen to me as if I know things. This is bad. Anyway, the point is these mats,
This is good.
They're supposed to be grounded, and then you put them on your feet under your desk. So when you're working, you are grounded.
I love
that
this.
You're not sending a current through yourself at all times.
This sounds like something, Riley, you could start fucking with for sure.
I'll try out a grounding mat. Sure,
He's got an online ceramic shirt.
Let me ask this: what are the positive
This dude
benefits? What are the positive benefits of grounding? I mean, we're already sort of. I mean, what is it supposed to achieve?
It's supposed to help against inflammation, like to stop yet another thing that we're fighting against in our bodies.
Gotcha. Okay, well, I could see that. Yeah, I got
to help slow the slow march towards death.
Yeah,
just a little bit.
So here's the thing. How is it that I'm like, no, aliens, that's probably a no, but grounding mats. You know what I'm saying? Like the fucking hypocrisy that I live every day.
I don't know. It's all a spectrum, right? You know what I mean?
I'm just thinking there's no fucking way I would find the grounding wire in my house. I'd have to hire an electrician. This sounds like way too much work.
I'm sure there's YouTube tutorials on that shit.
Yeah, that's true.
Charlie could do it.
The point is, like, all of these things are magical thinking. That's where I'm like the ultimate hypocrisy, because I'm fairly atheistic, but how am I going to be like, I want to believe? Well, then you're full of shit. You're full of shit.
Mm-hmm.
You can't have both. Which one is it?
Well, what about holding space for kind of going back to the beginning of what you were saying, where like maybe the universe, I mean, that's a general concept, but maybe there are just things that are naturally occurring that we just don't understand yet, but science will one day provide an answer for. And it may be, there's another reality that consciousness goes to after you pass on from here. Or it may be, actually, there's no such thing as ghosts, but energy can be trapped in this, and this way, in which way it might play back, or the way that our brains work, the way our consciousness works. Well, like, there's some naturally occurring psychic phenomenon that happens to us where we will hallucinate or play something that, I'm obviously going on the fringes out here because I'm trying to connect the dots.
I don't think that's even that fringy, especially all the psychic stuff, because I've been accused of being psychic many times. And to me, I'm just like, I don't know, just kind of paying attention.
All right. Well, there we go. Now we're getting down. We always find it, Janina. We always find it on the show. When have you been psychic?
So many times. But it's mostly just humans are really basic. Human needs are really basic. Human patterns are really obvious. And you can predict behavior.
So nothing like, I can't find my keys, and you close your eyes and roll your eyes, like roll back to your head. And,
well, that's just
like,
ADHD. That's just ADHD stuff. You know, like the typical ADHD thing is like, oh God, I forgot to wear pants or something. But then you're like, somebody's like, do you know where the blue file is? Oh yeah, okay, if you go in the attic, take 3 steps to the right and then look behind the suitcase. In that's going to be a box. In the box there's another box, but underneath that box is like a set of files. Go into the green file, and under that is a small blue file. That's the file. That's how the brain works, right? That's just how our brains work.
Right.
And so there are listeners who are like, no, do I have ADHD? You probably do.
I thought I was psychic.
Yeah. So, and then also, like the thing about like science will probably explain most of these things away is the Nobel Prize winners that just proved that time is very squishy this year. You saw that, right?
Yeah, I saw this article. It was a little above my head, but unpack what you remember from it.
Essentially, it's just literally that. It's like there's some scientists that are finally proving why time is subjective. And they're winning a Nobel Prize for it. So they're smarter than me.
That's the depth of the science we'll go into on this show.
They're like, they just all the paper says is time is squishy.
Time is squishy.
Time is squishy, y'all.
Cool.
Cool. Yeah.
I knew it.
You guys are PhDs in time, I guess.
Yeah.
I don't know.
But no other, like, because we're actors, we always get like charts done, and we see psychics, we run into these people, we're friends with them. Any tarot card, anytime you've ever been like, holy shit, that came true.
I've been in situations with psychics and called bullshit on them.
Oh, fun. Tell us.
That's kind of what I've done, okay. And also, like, there's a story from my dad. My dad was a pretty intense guy. and incredibly smart and weird. He was he came here with an engineering degree and made custom controls for people. He was kind of like an inventor guy, and he like was just a weirdo who would just sort of be in his head all the time.
Cool.
And he was Indian, and he convinced everybody that he like rode in on an elephant. Meanwhile, he like did not come from much, guys. Like he just pulled a con on all of the white people and made them believe. And that's how he built a life for us. Anyway,
Nicely done.
Was this in Chicago?
Yeah, it's outside of Chicago. A total badass guy.
I was in a movie about this. I learned that there was like a big immigration in the like 70s from India to Chicago specifically.
Yeah. So what? Not just to it's basically this. Like we needed scientists in this country, and so South Asia, East Asia, that's why a bunch of engineers and doctors came. So the generation, our parents are all engineers and doctors by a stereotype, because we literally needed them in this country.
Cool.
And it was the way out and to have a better life. So my dad was just one of them, but the places that they went were mostly universities because they were student visas.
Right.
That was the way into the country. So Illinois has some great schools. My dad went to the Milwaukee School of Engineering. There's a lot of Indians in Atlanta because there's a bunch of great schools there. So anywhere that there's if there's more than one good school in that city, you're probably going to find a bunch of South Asians.
That's cool. Never knew that. Yeah. That's rad. So
there's the science behind that. What is with all these brown people? There's got to be something in the water. No, just good schools.
It's good schools.
What was the story involving your dad and you?
Oh my gosh. Okay. So my mom was like the head of every volunteer organization in Joliet, Illinois. Okay. And so she like put together these galas to raise money for the arts program at the college, the local college. And one time they did something where there was like palm readers and tarot card readers and these kinds of things, right? Mm-hmm. And the story goes something like my dad and my mom went and got their palms read by somebody, and she went, oh no, you two aren't supposed to be together, or something like that. And my dad let her have it. He apparently like grabbed her by the wrist and looked at her palm and looked at it and then looked at her and told her a bunch of shit about herself. And it was like, this is this, and this is your family, and this is this. And by the way, the stars look different in India. Like the perspective of the stars laid differently. I'm so sure, I don't fucking know. But he let her have it, and he basically told her a bunch of things that like people don't know, just unless you talk to them, And like he was basically like, I'm more psychic than you, bitch. Mic drop, out, like that kind of thing. And she like moved away from Joliet or something, like some story as the story goes.
Right, yeah. That's badass. Way to go, Dad.
Yeah, but like my people are the one that came up with most of this shit.
Yeah,
so
yeah.
There's some story about. I gotta ask my mom about this. Oh, I can't believe I forgot to ask her before I came on the show. But there's something of like, there's a place in India you can go, and then you talk to the person, the head person in charge, and then they walk into the jungle, and they pluck a leaf, but it's your leaf from the tree. And they can read the leaf and tell you all of your life before and all of your life to come. And it's like I got to ask her what the hell this shit is.
Whoa.
I'm going to have to come back and do another episode and give you
Yeah.
Again, listeners, if you've heard of this.
If you've heard about these life leaves or these grounding mats, let us know. All right, we're going to take a quick break. When we come back, it'll be time to play our favorite game with Janina. This show is sponsored by BetterHelp. Listen, I don't know how much time you all spend on yourself in a given week versus how much time you spend on other people. Sometimes life is crazy. You're giving it your all. You're trying to carry the load for everybody, and you're not taking enough time for yourself, which can leave you feeling burnout, stretched thin, all sorts of adjectives that don't make you feel good. Bryce, Riley, how do you guys manage stress in your life? It's got to be tough.
Oh, it's brutal. Other than my 2 kids and wife, the only other adults I talk to are you guys. So having a therapist has been great for me, so I can have adult conversations outside my close inner circle. So yeah, I've been going to therapy for quite a while, and it is a tremendous help. I always come out feeling better than I went in.
Yeah, like a weight's lifted off your shoulder, right?
Yeah.
Therapy was amazing for me because I also discovered that I had been dumping all of my issues on my friends when I would see them, or when I would go home and see family. I would dump my problems on them as well. And then all your quality time is sort of soaked up by, I need to get all this stuff off my chest. And so for me, seeing a therapist was great because it gave me a weekly place, sometimes twice a week place, to know that I had an outlet for whatever was just on my brain that week, and I could talk to somebody who was a professional, who was there to help, to speak about it objectively and help me understand why I do the things that I do and how I can overcome some of my own personal issues.
Oh yeah. Plus, if you're like me, if you like talking about yourself, then you're gonna love therapy.
It's like your own little podcast about your life in some ways. Riley, what about you? Have you tried therapy yet?
I mean, my approach, I'm just sort of always meditating, like at all times. And I because if I don't, I will spin out and go absolutely bonkers. But I think the thing about therapy is that it's like you're saying, it's not just that you're no longer unloading it on everyone else, but you have someone who's qualified to give you some information back and help you to know what to do with all of these thoughts that are swimming around in your head.
There you go. Well, Riley, if you're thinking of starting therapy, listener, if you're thinking about starting therapy, give BetterHelp a try. It's entirely online. It's designed to be convenient, flexible, and suited to your schedule. All you got to do is you fill out a brief questionnaire to get matched with a licensed therapist and switch therapists anytime for no additional charge. I also think that's really cool because I tell friends who are starting therapy for the first time, it's kind of like dating. You might not meet your match right away. And don't give up on therapy just because you were like, oh, I didn't like this therapist. There is a therapist out there for you. And BetterHelp,
you might have to try a couple. I remember the first therapist I went to see, he did like 2 sports analogies in under 5 minutes. And then I was like, I'm out of here.
Yeah, right. But you don't give up on therapy. You just go,
No.
maybe I need to talk to somebody else who gets
Gave
me.
up on him. Yeah.
Yeah, so BetterHelp will help you switch therapists anytime for no additional charge. Find more balance with BetterHelp. Visit BetterHelp.com/BCC today to get 10% off your first month. That's huge. That's BetterHelp, HELP.com/BCC. Okay, Janina, we have a game that we play with all of our guests. I'm going to go down a list of phenomena.
Okay.
This is sort of like you got to pick one, okay? If you're open to it, you're going to say believe it. If you're not open to it, you're going to say bullshit. If you're acceptable, I know it's hard, but you got to come down.
Okay, but if I'm saying I believe it, am I saying I believe it? Am I allowed to be like, I believe it, but also because I can probably think up a scientific explanation for it? Or like what?
You can't say that, but we can come back. You can use intonation and inflection to be like, I believe it, however you want.
And that means I could probably think up a reason to explain it away from being a...
Yeah, great.
Okay.
Great.
See,
I love
I'm
it.
Buzzkill.
No, trust me. We've had worse. Don't worry about it.
Oh, yeah.
So...
Okay, go ahead.
Rapid fire style. Now, if there's any of these you want to come back to, we'll circle back after I go through the list and we can unpack it a little bit further, okay?
Okay.
This is a game that we call Bullshit
Or Believe It.
Did you put some echo in your voice there?
Oh, there's a whole sound cue. It's a whole thing.
Great. I love it. Thanks.
No problem.
All right, here we go. Janina Gavankar, on your mark. Get set. Ghosts.
Don't believe it.
So Everyone's mad at me.
Terminology.
Everyone's mad at me because I'm a stickler, but you gotta say
You gotta
bullshit.
play the game.
Gotta play the game, or I'll become like Janina. I'll become like your father. I'm gonna get real strict about these rules.
The stores look different in India.
Yeah.
Okay. Go.
Bigfoot.
Believe it.
UFOs.
Believe it.
Mothman.
Bullshit.
Curses.
Believe it.
Possessed dolls.
Bullshit.
The Bermuda Triangle.
Believe it.
Hollow Earth.
Bullshit.
There are alien constructs on the moon.
Bullshit.
Psychic visions.
Believe it.
Dreams are really other realities, and when you fall asleep, you visit them.
Bullshit.
Time travel.
Believe it.
Bending spoons with your mind.
Bullshit.
Entities from other dimensions visit our world.
Believe it.
Pets can see spirits.
Define spirit.
Like a ghost or something.
Because I just said bullshit to ghosts.
Well, there you go.
Caught in your own logic trap.
Put yourself
I'm
in
like,
a corner.
if you call them spirits, some energy that isn't using a grounding mat or some
works.
shit, then
That works. Yes, that is
okay.
That is acceptable.
All right. Okay.
Tarot cards.
Bullshit.
The Loch Ness
But I
Monster.
do believe that they are good context in which to unpack your shit with another stranger. Go ahead.
Great. Love that. The Loch Ness Monster.
Bullshit. Oh, actually, wait. How deep is the Loch Ness?
It's pretty
area?
deep, and it's very big, and it's very dark.
How deep?
Riley, can you Google how deep is Loch Ness for us? We'll get back to
And
you.
we'll come back to it. We'll come back to it. That's an unpack one.
The government is hiding the truth about Roswell.
Believe it. You can come back to that too.
We are living in a simulation.
Bullshit.
You could outsmart a werewolf.
Like me or just like royal you?
You.
Like you specifically.
Yeah. Could you outsmart a werewolf?
It really depends on what the task is.
Mm-hmm.
Like, is this like an American Ninja Warrior situation? Like, no.
I'd say it is.
But like,
I'm thinking one's chasing you and you got to get away from it.
also, like, didn't I play a person who had to multiple times outsmart?
Yeah, you did. So I think the
You
answer
did,
is
yes.
believe it.
Yeah, my mind always
Believe
puts
it, I
like you
guess.
pitted
Yeah.
against a werewolf, like kind of like shimmying back and forth. Like, what do
Oh
you
my
do?
god! If it was a
Yeah.
physical dexterity thing, I'm gonna go with bullshit. But I don't know.
Brains. Okay.
Yeah.
Planet Earth is a sentient macroorganism.
Ooh. Well, I think you have to decide. You have to define sentient as well. Like it knows. So sentient meaning it knows. Therefore, I am. Self-aware. So I would say self-aware. But then the other like self-awareness of a flower, like this is.
Janina.
Let's unpack later. Keep going.
Janina.
Keep going.
You got to say one or the other, Janina.
Okay. Well, we're gonna come back because I'm gonna say
Okay, great. The universe is looking out for you.
bullshit. I'm not a narcissist.
Finally, in our original timeline, the famous Bears family's last name was spelled Berenstein, not Berenstain.
It's EI, right?
It's AIN is the way it's spelled, but people
So
think
there
it
you go.
used to be spelled EIN.
Oh, so this is what's it called? What's the
Mandela
memory?
effect.
Yeah. Sure, believe it.
Great. Well, you know what? You did.
Because we have physical books to refer to.
You did much better than you set yourself up to be. That was great. Wait, did we get an answer on Loch Ness, Riley?
Yeah, so it's 745 feet deep. What
That's
is that?
not deep enough. So bullshit.
Okay, great. Fair enough. Roswell. You said you wanted to circle back about Roswell. You had some thoughts. on
So
Roswell.
have you guys heard the theory that it was the Russians?
Yes, the Annie Jacobson stuff. That it was like
Yeah, that's ridiculous.
It was like there were people that were like operated on to look weird and freak us out.
Not operated on to look weird. They had encephalitis, swollen skulls, not skulls,
Well,
swollen heads.
if that was the case, how would they man a rocket ship?
They
They
won't. They
launched them
don't.
from Mexico. They just shot the thing and it crashed.
Yeah, the thing itself is just a tin can with some dead bodies in it,
Yeah.
and then they just threw it from the sky. There was no. They just dropped it.
Yeah.
Also, remember we didn't have like
Wait, Bryce is
kind of-
rethinking his
I'm
entire
going back
life
to
right
last
now.
time. You keep
just
the whole
Occam's
conspiracy
razor,
theory.
bro.
The whole Russian
Occam's
conspiracy thing,
razor.
you keep saying they launched it from Mexico. That's not necessarily entirely true. I've
There's
read
no
elsewhere.
launching. Drop from above. Let's say that. Drop from above.
Okay.
I'll
from
stay
a
out of
plane,
it.
You're saying? Like they flew a plane over and dropped it? That's what we're talking about?
Yeah. Flew a plane as high as they could, dropped that shit from the sky, got 2 kids in there with some sunglasses under their eyelids. They're already dead. They got encephalitis, make them have swollen heads. Boom. Scare everybody out of the space race. Remember that was happening at the same time.
This
So
is
they wanted to
basically
get
the theory,
out
yes.
of here. Yeah, to scare the Americans out of the space race.
And you think that would fall under Occam's razor?
Yeah, because it's the dumbest shit ever.
Okay. I don't buy it. I don't
Okay.
buy it.
He says, but you got to play the game, Bryce. Did you forget there's only 2 words you're allowed to say? Bullshit
Bryce.
or believe
True
it.
enough. True enough. I'm a believer.
All right.
Okay.
I'll just refer you to our multi-part Roswell episode, and then you can hear Bryce's take on that whole situation.
Okay, please send me. Wait, was there anything else we had to unpack?
Oh, you wanted to talk about sentience, I think, as far as
on planet
flowers
Earth.
in the earth.
Yeah, I mean, so there's hold on.
She's gonna
You
Google.
better fucking
Oh, we're Googling.
you better
Edit this part out.
yeah, well you better just
we're
like
leaving it all
edit
in.
in general.
We don't edit on this show.
I always say that I will, and then I really don't.
Yeah, he doesn't do it.
I'm like, don't worry, I'll cut.
Oh, God. There was a million years ago, Neil deGrasse Tyson did a really good interview. I wish I could find it. But he's basically saying, like, humans, who says that humans are the most intelligent life force on this planet? I
Mhm.
can't use my nails and climb up a tree, but if a jaguar looked at me, it'd be like, you dumb bitch.
Mhm.
He didn't use those words because he's Neil deGrasse Tyson, but that's what I am saying. This is my paraphrasing.
Would be great if he did.
Yeah, it would be great. I like to pretend that when he doesn't have a microphone in his face, that's exactly how he talks.
Yeah.
But but you know, like there are plenty of other species that can do things that we absolutely cannot do, and they would look at us like we're very stupid. So when it comes to sentience, I just think it's like it's based on a rule set that only includes our own understanding of consciousness. And so that should not apply to everything.
Mm-hmm.
I mean, like you can say, by the way, you can say those things about intelligence in the patriarchal system that we live in, right?
Yeah.
So we're all looking at the way that we test kids now and say this cannot be the only rule set used to measure intelligence.
Yes.
If we're doing that for other humans now, how can we do that for other organisms?
I'm with you. But I still think that the Earth could have its own type of Earth sentience and be a conscious organism.
Yes, but that's why I said I believe it. But that's why we also have to unpack it, because I'm saying sentience, how do you define it?
I love it.
For sure. I think one can make a good argument that the plant world could be vastly more intelligent than the human species. It's all on how you look at
Don't even get into mushrooms with me, Bryce.
it. Let's do mushrooms together.
I've never actually gotten high off of mushrooms, but I think they're great. And I think they're way smarter than me.
Well, I know they're smarter than me. That's for sure. All right. Speaking of trippy, we're about to take a left turn into the realm of high strangeness. So we talked about Star Wars aliens a little bit earlier, and obviously, as Bryce pointed out, there's a strong visual connection between Wookiees and Bigfoot. And there are stories on this podcast, Janina, that we've shared that eyewitnesses have literally seen Bigfoots come out of UFOs and large spherical objects.
Why would they need to be furry if they were in the sky?
Well,
wouldn't your hair grow from the environment? I mean, they must be from a place in which that they need hair.
Yeah, or maybe it's some kind of suit.
They evolved to be hairy and large.
Or maybe it's some type of interdimensional thing. It doesn't mean they're
just
from
purely
space.
aesthetic. You know, it just looks good.
It just looks
it's
cool.
fashion.
Yeah,
it's fashion. So, but that made me think, what about the other famous hairy aliens in Star Wars? I'm talking about Ewoks. While I didn't happen to stumble upon any teddy bears from space stories, although I certainly would not rule the possibility of those existing out, I did come across a very weird and wonderful case from the 1950s featuring diminutive hairy aliens visiting Earth. Janina, are you ready to hear this week's story of high strangeness?
Yeah.
This is the Venezuelan Hairy Dwarves. Bryce, does this ring a bell?
No, but I'm all ears, man. You're talking, Hairy
This
Dwarves.
sounds racist.
It's not. It's just a location.
When you say it, it sounds racist. I'm just kidding.
Venezuela.
Go ahead.
All right, the Hairy Dwarves of Venezuela. How's that? Is that better?
That's better.
No, it's just.
It happened.
I'm just kidding. I'm just kidding. Go ahead.
How about this? Hairy Dwarves who showed
From
up
abroad.
in Venezuela. Is that better?
Okay, fine. Yes. Yes.
All right. It all took place in the wee morning hours of November 29th, 1954, on the road to Caracas, Venezuela. Two truck drivers, Gustavo Gonzalez and Jose Ponce, were transporting goods to a meat market in Pater when they suddenly saw a bright light ahead, lighting up the dark skies as if it were noon. Blocking the road was a glowing yellow sphere about 3 meters wide and 1 meter tall. Now, this is confusing to me because it is a sphere, so you think it would be 3 meters all around. So already, maybe we have some problems here.
Not a sphere. Yeah.
Not a sphere. So sort of somewhere between a sphere and a saucer. I saw contradicting reports on this. Okay, here we go.
Gustavo felt it was oblong, and Jose was like, that was definitely a perfect circle.
It happens. So I just want to take a pause here and say 1954, Janina, we are sort of in the golden age of the UFO
architecture.
And the flying
just kidding.
Too. Yeah, and flying saucers. So a lot of during this period of close encounters, we haven't yet gotten to the traditional alien gray stuff that you see like in X-Files. A lot of the creatures that people in this era are meeting, allegedly, are like weird little men, weird little robots, and as you'll see, little hairy men as well. So Gustavo stopped the truck as Jose hopped out and ran into the road to get a closer look at the craft. Almost immediately, they were surprised to see a short, hairy being with glowing red eyes appear from the side of the road. The creature was about 3 feet tall and covered in thick, dark, bristly hair. It was noseless, and it wore an article of clothing.
Noseless?
No nose.
Wait.
Noseless.
What? Hole for nose? Or what kind of, what is in the air? Is it flat? No nose.
Flat. No discernible like bridge or nose. It could have had little tiny nostrils or a tiny short nose, like maybe a bulldog, but in the dark or in the light of the ship and along with the hair, they just couldn't see a discernible nose. Okay?
Sure. Yes.
It's weird. They also wore an article of clothing resembling a loincloth.
Fashion. But but what are they covering? Here's the thing. They're hairy, so you can't see any genitalia. Like, what kind of, this is where I'm just like, this is where the bullshit comes in, right? Because I'm like, so now there's enough modesty. We must be modest with our genitalia. We must wear a loincloth.
Janina, this is where
over the hair that is probably covering our genitalia.
This is where the high strangeness comes in, okay?
Right.
Sometimes this phenomenon
these guys could be packing. We don't know.
What? So what? So let them. Be proud. If you're packing, be proud. Doesn't mean you. That's the time when you really shouldn't cover it up. Continue.
It needs the utility belt.
Right.
All right. So they see this thing. Jose darts back to the truck, but Gustavo, having none of it, exited the vehicle, ran towards the creature, and grabbed a hold of it. The being fought back. Cat like wrapped his arms around it. The being fought back.
Lift him like a child, like a small child, underneath the armpits, or
yes, lifted him in the air. He said it weighed about 100 pounds.
Why is he aggressive? Why is he suddenly aggressive? Why? Why is that the go-to? Like
fight or flight, baby. Fight or flight.
Okay.
So the being fought back with cat-like reflexes, wriggling itself free while shoving the headstrong truck driver back by several feet. It did this like squirm thing. It kicked back, flipped out of his arms. All right. At this point, a second being appeared from within the craft. It swiftly produced a futuristic-looking flashlight and shot a beam of light into Gustavo's eyes, temporarily blinding him. Now, I added the part where I said it was a futuristic-looking flashlight. It might have just been a regular flashlight. I don't know. When he regained his senses, Gustavo looked up just in time to see the hairy dwarf charging at him in retaliation. Gustav's hand dove into his pocket.
Wait, thing one or thing two? Which one's retaliating?
Thing one, coming back. There's one in the ship with a light. There's one fighting Gustavo. Gustavo's hand dove into his pocket to grab his trusty Boy Scout knife. Swinging blindly at the rampaging runt, he stabbed at the creature's shoulder, but the knife simply bounced off the monster's hide as if it struck metal. Thank you. The hairy dwarf unleashed a webbed hand tipped with sharp claws and swiped at Gustavo's ribcage.
So, cat-like web. Cat-like web?
Webs, claws.
We're thinking dog.
Claws.
We're thinking dog at this point, but now it's become cat-like.
Weird.
Okay.
Kind of getting amphibious as well.
It's
He's
like
got
a hat
all
on a
the
hat
traits.
right here.
Some sort of chimera.
But cats have webbed hands.
Wolves have webbed feet too.
Do they?
Wolves have webbed
They
feet.
do.
This is why I couldn't outsmart a werewolf.
There you go. Not in a
I didn't
swimming
even know
pool.
that. Didn't know what I was dealing with. Okay, continue.
Jose, overcoming his fear, because remember he ran back to the truck, runs back out of the truck to help Gustavo just as a third entity came stumbling up an incline next to the road carrying two fistfuls of dirt. Yeah, he's like stumbling up the hill trying to get, and he's carrying two fistfuls of dirt. So clearly getting some sort of soil sample while the other guys were watching the ship. Yes.
We are the Navi.
Now this third creature, upon seeing the commotion taking place on the road, this entity...
He says, whoa, 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 guys.
Yeah.
That's the first thing he says. Just tries to de-escalate.
He leaps like 15 feet into the air, across the road, and into the open hatchway of the craft. It's like a real Jedi move. The second entity, corralling the first and the third back into the craft, held out a long, thin rod and aimed it at the two men. They described being overcome with an eerie vibration as they were helplessly frozen in place. Now, this is something that has come up time and time again in Alien Encounters on this podcast.
Like a long tuning fork that gives you a vibration.
Like a magic wand.
Really fucks your brain waves up.
Yeah, and it freezes people like they suddenly are in suspended animation.
I get that, man. I see that working.
Cool weapon.
Believe it.
The short, hairy UFO knots locked themselves away in the craft and took off into the dark skies above Caracas. After the effect of the magic wand wore off, the two men went directly to the police to report their encounter. Although their story was wild, Officer Jesus Antonio Yanes concluded that both men were sober and sound of mind. Gustavo was complaining of a pain on the left side of his body where the creature had attacked him, so he was taken to the hospital and x-rayed. His ribs were unbroken, but they did find a tear in the muscular tissue under his ribcage. Gustavo and Jose had a solid reputation in the community. Co-workers, friends, and employers all agreed it was unlikely that they would have cooked this story up out of nowhere. And fortunately for them and us, there were other eyewitnesses that night that corroborated aspects of their story. Here are a few of them.
Okay. Yeah, let's hear these aspects.
Manuel Maria Soria, who lived Soria, I had it right the first time, who lived a few blocks away from where the incident took place, said that he was pulling up to his house in his car around 2:30 a.m. around the same time when a strange light suddenly and briefly flooded his car. So possibly this craft flying over his house. Another neighbor who lived nearby, Maria Antoinetta Avellaneda, claimed that around 2 a.m. she heard a strange sound that reminded her of an explosion and then a hissing sound, possibly the craft landing in the road. This
like
is
a hydraulic kind
like
of situation.
Yeah.
Yeah. Okay.
Multiple eyewitnesses spoke to authorities who investigated the case about seeing a strange light passing over their homes in the early hours of November 29th. So a lot of people on the ground seeing a UFO that night. And believe it or not, this wasn't the only time that hairy dwarves were reported in Venezuela in that year. Earlier in 1954, on April 10th, hunter Emilio Martinez claimed that two short, half-monkey, half-human creatures attacked him and tumbled down a ditch in the hills outside of Caracas. Martinez
tumbled down the ditch, or he tumbled down the ditch?
They tumbled down together in a fight, again fighting, like tackling him.
God, so many fights.
They're very aggressive. Martinez was able to escape only by beating one of the creatures in the head with a rock until it let go of him and retreated back into the brush with its partner. Then on December 10th, 1954, just over a week after the attacks on Gustavo and Jose, two hunters, Lorenzo Flores and Jesus Gomez, came upon a spherical object hovering in the woods near Carora. Flores reported,
"We saw 4 little men coming out of it. When they realized we were there, 4 of them grabbed Jesus and tried to drag him towards this thing. I could do nothing but take my shotgun, which was unloaded, and strike at one of them. The gun seemed to have struck rock or something harder, for it broke into 2 pieces."
As for details to the creature's appearance, Flores could only offer this.
"We could see no details as it was dark, but what we did notice was the abundant hair on their bodies and their great strength."
The abundant hair on the bodies.
Yeah.
But he beat the shit out of one of them?
And they're straight, only with a rock. Only fought him off with a rock, but he said they were really strong and they were really hairy.
He didn't... Yeah, but, like, they were small enough. He didn't, like, grab him and go... Especially since there were, like, reports already on these dudes. Like,
right, sorry.
Hey,
I was confusing
that
them
body.
with the other hunter. No, they were just like, these guys are strong. They could tell. Because they grabbed Jesus. They tried to drag him towards the ship.
Yeah, I guess what I'm saying is, like, you heard about these things and you didn't, like, think to calm yourself down and pick this body up and be like, I'm gonna prove this shit.
They tried. They're strong. They get away.
Okay.
So, the sightings of the Venezuelan hairy dwarfs didn't end there. For the next few months, a mini invasion of sorts seemed to be taking place as more and more eyewitnesses reported fleeting encounters with tiny hairy humanoids darting in and out of small UFOs.
This is very fun.
Eventually, the flap ended and the sightings faded. But we are left scratching our heads and asking ourselves, Janina, what the hell was that?
It sounds like it's where Ewoks came from.
Mm-hmm.
And yeah, it sounds like George plagiarized.
Yeah, he ripped him off. Oh, well, I think he ripped
him
himself off because Ewoks were just basically Ewok, Wookiee. They're just the opposite of Wookiees. That's all they are.
Sure.
Whoa, I never made that connection. Oh my God, it's so wild.
Sure, but
Ewok,
scale
Wookiee.
makes sense. Yeah, but scale makes sense in terms of like environment and time period, right? Like lizards and birds are just dinosaurs, but smaller.
Do you think that that it's possible that tiny, hairy, Bigfoot-like creatures were flying in and out of UFOs in the 1950s? A question you did not expect to be asked today.
I mean, I don't really buy it. It's just, this is the stupid reason why I don't buy it, guys.
Okay, great.
Right.
What does Venezuela have that's so great?
I don't know.
What's in that dirt? What's in that dirt, bro? Why do you have those dirt boulders on his shoulders? What was in that land?
Maybe they're just close to some sort of ley line or gateway to another dimension that these things were slipping in and out of, and it was the door opened for just 6 months in 1954.
The veil was lifted for exactly that amount of time.
Yeah.
I mean, listen, I think it's pretty fun. It's just that those guys also might have just been late to work. And they really needed to think up the story.
No, they're always on time. Literally, they're like, these guys always show up on time.
Always on time,
late.
unless they are in a scuffle with some short, hairy aliens.
Yeah.
So, I mean, like, I don't know. I'm just sort of like, it's super fun, but it sounds real dumb.
Yeah.
I just don't think
don't
think these things are, it's so weird because it's like, part of me is like, anything that's been here is probably so different than us that they're not humanoid at all.
Mm-hmm.
But then if I zoom out, if I can make myself zoom out even further, I'm like, well, then why would anything visit us at all?
Mm-hmm.
We're not trying to go to planets that don't have something that we can live on and have enough gravity to handle the way that our legs work and the oxygen we need for our lungs. So we're not going to travel to some bullshit planet that don't work for us. So why would something that isn't humanoid come here if we can't supply an environment that works even halfway for them? So maybe they are kind of humanoid.
No one has ever posed that question on the show before, and that makes sense. So in other words, this planet's going to attract other humanoids, because they can interact with this environment.
Also the word humanoid, what the fuck does that really mean? What the fuck do we know? But like things that are biped, okay, things that have bodies that work within the gravity that we have on this planet, with an oxygen content that we have on this planet, and various other things that I can't think of right now. But like the other variables that you would need to be able to just move around,
right,
and not die immediately.
Carry dirt, carry 2 fistfuls of dirt. Gonna need those hands.
Gonna need some hands.
Right. So what are you thinking? What are you thinking? Tiny Bigfoot in spaceships.
Well, look, I mean, I'm thinking of a few things. I mean, South America has a deep history of strange visitations from craft and their occupants. Remember the case of David Huggins with those aliens and the mantids? He saw a little mini foot, what we would describe as like a little tiny, like basically an Ewok. So I'm kind of just wondering what the difference might be between something like that and what would be described here as a hairy dwarf. But again, you see some parallels, like again, you have this rod that holds magical powers that seems to stun people and stuff. So it has a lot of alien UFO occupant elements,
with a little bit of fairy folklore mixed in.
With a little bit of fairy lore, folklore tucked right in there too. Look, I totally get it, right? Like all this stuff seems so silly. I was trying to you sent me that article on my birthday about Joe Simonton and the pancake making aliens, and I tried to explain that to my son, and he just looked at me with a blank face and was like, "That's fucking crazy." And I'm like, I know, I get that, but it might have happened.
God, I wish I'd been there for that.
He really just wasn't buying it either. So, yeah. So, on the surface, all this stuff seems pretty silly and ambling, but at the same time, you got multiple witnesses. We know these crafts are visiting places like Brazil by the hundreds and Venezuela, and people are reporting stuff. And
I mean,
I don't know.
The
pretty
thing
strange,
that gets
man.
me with this is that there's a physical wound that was verified at a hospital, so they encountered something. Like, there's no way that they were that late to work that the one dude was like, "Cut me in the stomach," and we'll say it was a tiny space Bigfoot.
Yeah,
like who
just
would
say
come
you got
up
a flat
with that?
tire?
Right? Yeah,
might have been a really good job, Riley.
It's like it's on the line. But yeah, whatever that was, who knows?
Final thoughts on this case before we wrap up.
I think that people didn't have prestige television to really give them great stories to feel great about and to lift their imaginations. So anytime they would hear something in the winds, they were immediately taken by those exciting stories and those exciting experiences that they would want for themselves. So I think that imagination can be infectious.
Can elevate. Yeah. And we got a little bit of mass hysteria perhaps going on here for a few months.
Sure. Yeah, but it's not even hysteria, just mass intrigue.
Right.
Let's have a fun life.
That's all we're trying to do here. That's all we've been trying to do.
That's all we're trying to do.
Let's have a fun life.
People want to feel, it's like we all want to connect with other people and not stick out too much. Otherwise we'll get thrown out of the cave because we're all still have cavemen brains. But we also still want to be special at all times. So it's this weird, these needs of feeling like you're part of the pack, but also being no, I'm not everyone else though. I'm not exactly like everyone else though. I'm super special. I see things sometimes a
hairy dwarf cut my midriff.
Yeah, I just think that humans are constantly feeling the need for both things, and it causes things like this to happen.
Yeah. Fair enough. Who knows? We'll never know. We're never gonna know.
We'll never know.
We'll never know. But we have the story.
It's been a long time since my hairdryer went on by itself.
Well, watch out.
If those days start happening again.
It probably will now that you've been on the show and you put it out there. So let us know. Janina, thank you so much for being on the show. Where can people find you? Do you have anything fun you want to plug or anything? Whatever you got.
Yeah, I have so many things.
Great.
Well, I mean, I don't know. You can find me on the interweb anywhere where my name is, which is, you can just find me at my first name, which is at Janina. I haven't been on a podcast. I'm so sick of myself, you guys. I think I told you this, Michael. I was like, I just don't want to do any podcasts. I'm so sick of hearing myself talk. I have nothing interesting to say.
How dare you?
I'm just in the lab. Just Russo and I are writing, and that's it. And I don't want to do anything else. So I don't even know how to be. I feel like I haven't been socialized, and I'm not like media trained anymore. I have to remember how to talk on a microphone.
Nobody wants that here.
No.
But you know what I mean? Like I could have been better at this, but I wasn't, and that's fine. So it's great. I'll just think about it all the time.
We prefer our guests fully feral, actually.
Yeah.
So
Yeah. It's pretty close.
Well, I'll say this. Yeah, Truest Blood too. You plugged it earlier. Gotta.
Yeah,
follow.
Truest Blood. You can. Yeah. And then also, I've got a slew of video games that I was lucky enough to work on in the pandemic. One's coming out soon. It's called Stray Gods, and it has an absolute like Avengers Assemble level cast of incredible actors. Laura Bailey is the lead, and Troy Baker, like literally everybody that you love is in this thing. And you can start pre-ordering it now on Steam. There's some other ones that I can't really talk about yet, but I'm very excited about. And the thing that most people don't know is I've been consulting at a few studios. So that's the stuff I'm most excited about. The stuff I'm like so flipping excited about is stuff that I just like that nobody can see. It's all the stuff that nobody sees. And then, but yeah, I mean, you can find me on every social media thing, including Spill. Have you guys heard about Spill?
No. What? There's another one.
Spill is the new social media joint that you need to grab your handle for right now. Spill.com.
Okay.
And I'm just at Janina everywhere. It's about to launch, so let's go get it before your name's gone.
I have one May the 4th wish.
Well, my blue check mark's gone, so maybe I'll go
Janina,
there.
I have one May the 4th wish, and that is for Star Wars Battlefront 3. Is it ever? Have you heard? Is it ever? Is there a possibility? Hope? They always say to hope in Star Wars.
I have no idea. Okay. But the thing that's exciting is, these characters still live on. They are canon. You're the one that sent me the first physical photo of their cover. Iden and her squadron.
I can't remember the issue off the top of my head, but yeah, Inferno Squadron's in the comics now.
That's right. So that kind of stuff is, you just never really know, and you get called upon to do interesting things in the galaxy.
We're going to see you in Disney Plus on one of these shows. You're going to be in that Heir to the Empire movie. You got to talk to Filoni, and while you talk to him, tell him there's 3 boys that wouldn't mind joining the Star Wars universe.
The ranks.
Can you get us from Star Wars jobs?
Stormtrooper. But they couldn't hide that. They took a look at that pretty face. They're like, we can't put that under a helmet.
Can't hide that. Got to put that out front.
No. That's exactly what happened.
All right, everybody. Janina, thank you so much. This was a true joy. Thank you. Oh boy, everybody. Woo. Don't forget to click that follow button on Spotify or Apple or your favorite podcast app so you never miss a single episode of BCC. Hey, you know what? That's what Bryce always says. Hey, yeah, you know what? Yes. That's what you like to do. That's right. No, that's what it is. You go, that's right. That's right. You like to start a sentence with that's right. That's right. We want to hear from you. So rate and review while you're there. If you drop us a 5-star review on Apple Podcasts, we might read it on the show like this one.
Great show. Love the show. It's highly entertaining and very informative of the paranormal. That's from Grim Reaper 11710.
5 stars.
5 stars.
5 stars. Thanks, Grim Reaper.
Hell yeah, Grim Reaper. Hell yeah, buddy.
That's right. Be sure to follow us on Instagram at Bigfoot Collectors Club. Honestly, if you're on Instagram and you aren't following the show, I do not know what you're doing. It is...
What are you doing?
It is really like the extension of the show. That's where all the stuff is. And you can follow us on TikTok at BCC Pod. If you've caught up on the show and you want more,
where Michael is dancing by himself.
Yeah, pretty much. Pretty soon. Yeah, you can. Yeah, there's a lot of people waiting for me to do something over there. I'll say that. If you want more show, it's waiting for you on our Patreon, BCC The Other Side. You can unlock 3 bonus episodes every month, plus our entire episode library over there. Upgrade to the Cosmic tier and unlock 3 additional BCC soundtracks and occasionally original works and sometimes full-length albums by Riley Bray. Head over to patreon.com/BigfootCollectorsClub to check that out. And of course, when you join, we'll give you a shout out on the air. So let's do some Patreon shout outs of the week. Angela.
Thank you.
Corey.
Thank you.
John.
Thanks, John.
Leah and Trevor Huntsman.
Thanks.
Zoe Atsidis.
Thanks, Zoe.
Janelle Headley.
Thanks, Janelle.
Anastasia.
Thank you.
And Sarah Cohen.
Thank you, Sarah.
Thank you to you guys and everybody who follows us over at BCC The Other Side. Speaking of following, follow me on Instagram at McMills. And you know what? Since Janina was on the show tonight, I know it's Star Wars week, but watch True Blood. It's on HBO Max, or I guess now it's just called Max. If you've never seen the show before, lots of supernatural spooky shit over there. So check it out. We're both on a bunch of it.
Yeah, I'm on those socials. You know where I am on Instagram at Mr. Bryce Johnson, Twitter at Bryce O. Johnson. Although no verified check mark anymore. Whatever.
Done.
Who needs that?
I've never had a verified check mark on anything, Bryce. Welcome to the common people.
Only in our hearts, Riley. Only in the hearts of moms across America.
That's where
right.
I'm verified.
That's
That's
right.
where I do. That's the only verification.
You can have one now for just $3 a month, buddy.
Pass. Hard pass. I think I made a Twitter and never tweeted.
That's true.
Anyways, I am on Instagram.
There you go.
At Peace Drone.
Let's get him that blue check mark.
Yeah, come on, guys. Come on over. And I'll second Michael's plug. Watch True Blood. I watched it for the first time during the pandemic, and man, what a wonderful ride that was.
Thanks, man.
I watched every last second of it. That's a great show. It's really great.
I do remember you texting me when you were watching. You're like, "Oh my god, hey Michael, you're pretty good." I was like, "Thanks, buddy."
It's just like, dude, you're like a really good actor. Did you know that?
That was fun. It's always fun to see your work friends doing something outside of work, isn't it? All right. One last thanks to Janina for joining us. We're going to cross over to the other side. If we don't see you there, we'll see you back here next week for an all-new episode of BCC. Until then, may the Force be with you, and
go get regressed. Bigfoot Collectors Club is produced by Riley Bray and Michael McMillan and scored and engineered by Riley Bray. Our theme song, Come Alone, is by Suneaters, courtesy of Lotuspool Records. Do us a favor and support the show and unlock 3 bonus episodes every month by becoming a member of our Patreon, BCC The Other Side, which can be found at patreon.com/BigfootCollectorsClub.